Hello? Hello, hello? Is this fucking working? Alright. Still trying to figure out how to set up my own shit. But here we are, we made it. Thanks for tuning into 88.8 kayFM podcast. Alright. Starting to get into the groove of things. So this is week 2 of kind of getting back into a routine. Anyways, the intro song is In the Room, Cruisin' by Gallant and Andrade. I just recently heard this cover and I'm very picky with covers. I mean, if I can, I almost always prefer the original. Obviously, the original is by Smokey Robinson, but I just really loved this one. I liked this cover a lot, so much so that I am adding it as the intro song. So yes, please check it out. Anyways, here we are back again at your local public library. So today I wanted to talk about what it's like to be moving back in with your parents at the ripe age of 35. I feel like there's such a stigma about moving back in with your parents when you're past your like upper 20s, your 30s, even your 40s. I mean, a lot of people feel ashamed to be moving back into their parents. And it's funny because I didn't feel that way. It didn't like occur to me that I maybe should feel that way until I got back to the US, where there's obviously like this like stigma about like moving back in with your parents. And I don't know, I guess like in the Philippines, I think that it's super normalized that a lot of people live with their parents until like they get married. But also, I just feel like, I don't know. For me, I'm like, what is there to be really ashamed about? Because usually when people move back in with their parents, it's because they're in this like transition of life where they've probably weighed out their options and this is probably their best option at that point. And so I can understand the feeling of like having to move back in with them, but it's just such a temporary experience. And I don't know, for me, I will go ahead and say that like living in the Philippines has definitely changed my perspective on so much. I mean, especially like involving my relationship with my parents. I think seeing where they come from and then also just what life is like in another country, and then the thought of them, immigrating to the US and starting over a new life, and also in comparison, me going to the Philippines and creating a new life there, it was very difficult for me. So I can't even imagine what it was like for my parents. So I feel like my whole experience being in Asia has definitely opened up my eyes and it's definitely given me a newfound appreciation for my relationship with my parents, and I can definitely empathize with them more. So I don't know. It was me moving back here and knowing that I was going to be living with my parents. It wasn't like super daunting. What was daunting though is the fact that my parents live in a very like small 1-bedroom condo, and I don't have a bed, I don't have a room, I don't have any privacy. So that was my main concern, is that for me, I very much so like my own space. I mean, I haven't lived with my parents since I was fucking 18. Yeah, 18, like when I graduated high school, and then I went to college, and then I never moved back in with my parents. So like from there, I was living in Chicago. I moved to LA in 2013, and then I was in LA for almost 9 or 10 years. Yeah, almost 10 years. And then I was in Asia. So it's been a minute since I actually spent a significant time with my parents like this. I will say, like, I came back to the US last year and I stayed with them for a few weeks. And at that point, a bitch was triggered. But I also, I maybe have mentioned this the last episode. I was just not ready to come back to the US last year, and I was like very stressed about it. Whereas like this time around, it felt right to me. Like I was ready to come back to the US and I was looking forward to it. And like I said, it was something that I had been sitting on for a while. So I never really felt shame or whatever about knowing that I was going to have to move back in with my parents. If anything, I low-key was kind of excited. Because let's be real, I'm a very enjoyable person to be around. I know my parents were excited to have me back as well. So, but I mean, honestly, I also think like I am very blessed and I'm very grateful that I have a good relationship with my parents. I mean, it's not perfect and we've had our things, and obviously I have worked through like a lot. No one ever has a perfect childhood, right? But I don't know. I feel like it's such a thing to like hate your parents. Well, not even hate your parents, but just like really be annoyed with your parents. And yes, I absolutely understand that. I get it for sure. I will say, like, I don't know. I like my parents. I get along with my parents. My parents are fucking funny. They're hilarious. They're also enjoyable to be around most of the time. So, low-key, I was kind of excited. And I mean, yeah, there were like thoughts of like, fuck, I'm not gonna have any privacy. And it's like kind of funny because like, you know, I've been back for almost a month now. And their schedule is my schedule now. Like, I don't have a bedtime. My bedtime is whenever these motherfuckers decide to go to bed because it's such a small space. So it's like my dad is in the living room. I can hear him fucking watching the news. My mom is I'm literally sleeping in the same bed as my mom, okay? And my mom is next to me. She's like fucking on her phone. And I'm like, a bitch is never gonna go to sleep until these motherfuckers go to sleep. So, and then like, you know, they be running errands, and then I'm there for the errand, because like right now I'm not, you know, my time is very free. Well, I wouldn't say my time is like very free, but you know, I have a very open schedule, which is the way I like to keep it. And so it's like running errands with them. I can't tell you how many times I be kicking it with the fucking senior citizens. Like to go along with that, which is even funnier, is that my parents live in it like an old people's home. It's not like a fucking, why can't I think of the name? It's not like it's not an old people's home. It's not a nursing home. I don't know why I can think of that. It's not a nursing home, but it's like you can only buy a condo there if you're 65 and over. So like literally everyone is an old person there. And I'm out here, I'm like always on the balcony because I don't have any privacy, so I go outside all the time. And I'm definitely the youngest bitch there all the time. But it's so crazy because I don't know, I really be just thinking way too much. But to be in this old people's home, essentially, I don't know, it makes you think about old people. And I've always had like this thing for like obviously like kids and like old people. I think it's also because like I never had I don't want to say not that I never had grandparents, but I never experienced what it was like to have grandparents. So like living with my tita in the Philippines, I mean, she's kind of old. She is old. She's like 84. Like also her caretaker is like pretty old too. And I don't know, it just opens your eyes up to like, I'm getting at that age where my parents are old and like so are my aunts and uncles, and like it's interesting to see because, you know, I've been gone for a while, and not even gone just like out of the country, but like I haven't lived in Chicago in over a decade. So a lot of these family members, like I don't really see that often. So to come back here and like now everyone's fucking old, and then it makes you just really, I guess for me, it just like
I am like very present when I'm with them, and I appreciate having this time with them because I do understand that they're old, and like, not to sound morbid, but I don't know how much time I have, It's like there's that saying where it's like, maybe you might have years left with someone, but you'll actually only see them like 10 times because you're obviously not seeing those people like all the time. It's just a handful of times. So like, I think about that, and like, it's just, I don't know. So anyways, getting back to living at home with my parents, and also there was like an issue with our like next door neighbor, and he doesn't like have any family around, and he had like a problem with his plumbing, and I don't know, it just like made me really feel sad. In that I think that we often, and I'm absolutely a victim of this too. Like, there are times, like, I used to be really good about calling my parents all the time, but then there are just times where sometimes I don't fucking like talk to them for like a month and a half. And I think that as we get older, it's so easy to kind of forget our parents, and life gets so busy, especially people who have their own families and, work and everything. But I mean, low key, we're forgetting about the old people. And it makes me sad. So pretty much getting back to what I'm saying is that I had no shame moving back in with my parents. If anything, I'm so appreciative that, one, I get along with my parents. Two, I'm so happy, like, I'm blessed that my parents are still alive. And three, I get to look at it with this new perspective, in that this is such a temporary experience for me. Like, I know that I'm not going to be living here forever. So I want to take advantage of like spending time with my parents, and also getting to know who my parents are and what their day-to-day life is like, because I haven't lived with them in so long. And it gives me a chance to, create a better relationship with them. And so I'm really grateful for that. And, even just like as simple as, you know, my dad cooking. Like, I get to be at home now, and I get to learn all these Filipino recipes that I've been wanting to learn. And so like, I'm going to take advantage of that time. And even just like my mom, like, she loves to go to church. So, you know what a bitch has been doing? She's been going to church. And so, and then, she's been going on my morning walks with me, which has just been really nice, just to kind of spend some time. So, yeah, I guess that's like what it's like living at home. I don't think it's that terrible, and I think that there's a stigma about moving back in with your parents at a certain point in your life because maybe you need some additional support. And I think, isn't that what parents are for? They're there for support. And to be honest, I don't know if they would ever admit this, but my friend actually brought this up, who's in Manila, that our parents probably feel good when we do ask them for help, because, as we get older, it's so, we're so focused on being independent and taking care of our own lives and taking care of our own families, right? So it's rare that we probably ask them or feel comfortable asking them. And so, my parents are here to give me the support that I need. And it's nice. It's nice to be able to rely on them. And it's just such a different perspective and a different time and a different relationship with them now, because also it's like I'm coming at it in such a different way, because one thing that I was worried about was like, I think one of the biggest things that happens when we move back in with our parents is that, or even not even when we move back in with our parents, but just our relationship with our parents, is that we will always be a child to them, right? And rightfully so. We are their child, right? But I have also found that it also requires, if we don't want them to treat us like children, it also requires us to handle the relationships differently. So like, for example, and these are just like very simple examples, but like, you know, anytime I've come home, I'm like, my parents would like come and clean my apartment. I'd be leaving like the dishes everywhere, you know, just making my mom, my poor mom, making my mom clean up after me, you know, always making my dad cook, and just like all of those things that they provided to you when you were a child, you just expect that when you go home, right? And it's almost like your comfort zone because this is just how it's always been, right? But I feel like this time around, and these are just like very simple things, but you know, I try to be mindful of those kinds of things. Like, I understand that I'm living in their space, and so I try to clean up after myself. I try to, you know, cook food every now and then. I also, you know, try I try to clean up my hair in the bathroom because that shit drives them wild. So like, I am very mindful of those things. I make the bed after I wake up, and you know, I would like to show them that I respect that I am living in your space. And I think that, you know, they can recognize that, and I think there's a mutual respect between us, because we are respecting each other's space. Or like, even like, you know, I think my parents like used to always just kind of ask me for things, and not to say that they don't ask me for things now, but like, you know, it used to bother me because like, just because I'm home doesn't mean that you have like 24/7 like access to like ask me a million different questions, you know, because it's like sometimes I just like need a minute. But I think like they're definitely more respectful, like when I'm outside and like I'll be writing or I'll be working on something, like, you know, they're very considerate not to like disturb like what I'm doing, or like, you know, randomly ask me to do something in the middle of it, you know, where I feel like they used to do that shit all the time. It used to drive me crazy. So just little things like that where I feel like I definitely can recognize where the relationship has shifted, and I don't know, I really love that. And so yeah, I think that, I don't know, look, I just might live here for the rest of my life. I'm just joking. No, I know I'm actually preparing to probably get out probably within the next month. So, yeah, I'm just kind of enjoying it for what it is. I know that like once I probably get back out to the city and I start kind of getting into my groove of things, it's not to say like I won't come home, but I won't come home as often. So I definitely do want to enjoy the time that I am with them, even though I know every day they're like, when are you gonna get a job? And I'm like, just chill. Like, just enjoy the time you have with me. That's the thing. It's like, I know that once I do start working again, like, I'm not gonna have as much time to be like kicking it with you and my fucking aunts and uncles, you know? So I am just really enjoying the time and like just joking. Me and my dad literally have the same sense of humor, so it's actually hilarious at home. And also I feel like coming into their space, it's just shifted too, because you know it's always been just them two all the time, and so to like have me back in, and you know I'm super silly all the time and I'm loud and I'm crazy when I'm at home. So I mean, not all the time, but sometimes. So it definitely adds to it, and it, you know, I feel like it lightens the mood a lot, which is nice. So yeah, that's really what it's like. So yeah, I mean, that's what it's like moving back home with your parents at the age of 35. It's really not so bad, and I think that people should stop putting the stigma around it, and it's okay to like your parents, and it's okay to like spend time with them and to not be shameful of that. And chances are, like, if people do say shit, all I can say is like when that happens is like whoever is saying that to you, or whoever is like putting it in your head that like you should be ashamed of like where you're at whatever age you're at, Like, take a look at that person's life and ask yourself, do you want to be in that person's life? Because 9 times out of 10, you do not want to be in that person's shoes. So it's like, why would you give a shit about what they say? And that is how I look at everything. So I'm just like, no, I have zero shame about living with my parents at my age. And I have zero shame that I am not working right now. I feel like there's a lot of people who are trying to make me feel shameful for that. And I'm like, no, I know this is just a temporary period in my life. And I also know who I am. And I know that once I do get into everything and once I get the ball rolling on whatever it is that I choose to do, like, you probably won't see me. So it's like, you know, you really have to appreciate the seasons that you're in and trying to come at it with a different perspective. Like, I could have came out here and I could have been real salty about moving back in with my parents, and I could have been real fucking depressed about not having a job, and real depressed that my friends are like buying homes and they're, you know, making families, they're getting married. You know, it's so easy to fall back into that. Like, now that I am like kind of back here and back, you know, with all the people that I grew up with, and it's so easy to compare your life, but it's like, everyone is on their own fucking journey, dude. Everyone's doing shit differently. And you don't even want the same things as the person next to you. So why would you ever compare your path to whoever is next to you? Unless that person has the life that you want, like, I don't give a shit. Unless you're fucking Zendaya saying that I'm a bum, I don't give a shit about it. Like, that is literally how I feel. And I wish people really looked at it more that way, because it's like, it doesn't matter, you know, how many stories do you hear about people starting over in their 40s? Like, it just doesn't matter anymore. It just doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter. All that matters is that we all are trying to find some sort of happiness and joy in the life that we have. Life is too fucking short. I know, not to be cliche, but it's so fucking true. Anyways, I'm going to leave you at that. Thanks for tuning in. I am Kay, and I will see you next week.